All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're now going to talk about the Chiefs Dolphins game. The Chiefs getting a 26-7 win. There was really no point in this game where I thought the Chiefs weren't going to win. I mean, maybe when Tyreek Hill caught that touchdown in the game to make it 10-7, 53 yards from Tua Tagovailoa. But other than that, there really was no point where I was like, oh, the Chiefs are in trouble. They started off the game. They went 9 plays, 69 yards down the field. And Patrick Mahomes connected with Rashee Rice, who had a big game, for an 11-yard touchdown to make it 7-0. Both teams then punted. Tua then threw a pick, which led to a Harrison Butker field goal from 28 yards. So that made it 10-0. And yeah, then here we go. This is where you could have said, okay, maybe the Dolphins have a shot. Tua connected with Tyreek Hill for 53 yards. So that made it 10-7. Then the Chiefs kicked another field goal. That was a 26-yarder by Butker. That was set up by a 28-yard scramble by Patrick Mahomes on 4th and 5. Then the Dolphins turned it over on downs. Both teams punted, exchanged punts, and then Harrison Butker kicked another field goal from 32 yards. That was set up by a 39-yard reception by Rashee Rice. So 16-7 at the half. Dolphins opened up the second half with a punt. Chiefs kicked another field goal. Harrison Butker, 21-yard field goal. And then a touchdown later in that quarter. And that was a 3-yard touchdown run by Isaiah Pacheco. And then nobody scored after that. The Dolphins turned it over on downs twice. And, the final score was 26-7. I mean, obviously the weather was really cold. It was very cold there. So cold that Patrick Mahomes' helmet broke, on a collision with the Dolphins player. A piece of it fell off, so they had to give him a replacement helmet. And he said that helmet was frozen when he got it. So, it was really cold in Kansas City. And, looking at the stats of the game, 23 for 41 for Patrick Mahomes, 262 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Isaiah Pacheco, 24 carries for 89 yards and a touchdown. The Chiefs ran the ball for 147 yards in total. Mahomes had 41 yards, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 21 yards on the ground. Rashee Rice, like I said, had a big game, 8 receptions for 130 yards and a touchdown. Travis Kelce had 7 for 71. Clyde Edwards-Helaire actually had a fumble in this game. That was actually late in the game when the Chiefs were towards the end of the game. The Chiefs were just trying to run out the clock, and he fumbled. So the Dolphins did get one more possession, but they didn't do anything with it. The Chiefs had 2 sacks in this game. And then on the Dolphins side, Tua Tagovailoa went 20 of 39, 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Only ran the ball for 76 yards. They did get Mostert back and Waddle back for this game, but it really didn't matter. Tyreek Hill, of course, was their leading receiver. 5 receptions for 62 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, the 53-yard touchdown reception was a big chunk of those yards for him. Jalen Waddle had 2 for 31. But yeah, I mean, and the Dolphins didn't have any sacks in this game. But yeah, I mean, it was a tall task for the Dolphins. I just really did not see them really winning this game, especially with the weather. And it's just and the Chiefs' defense. You know what? That's been the strength of this team this year. And they played well. They shut down the offense between that and the weather. And something on CBS's Instagram that they posted. So Dolphins by opponents this season. So they're versus playoff teams. Actually, no, versus all others. Okay, against non-playoff teams. 10-1, averaging 35.5 points per game, averaging 442.5 total yards per game, and then points per game differential plus 17.8. Then against playoff teams, they are 1-6, averaging 16.1 points per game, total yards per game 316.9, and then points per game differential minus 15.7. And listen, we talked about it earlier how the Dolphins are kind of frauds, and again, that just reared its ugly head once again here in this game. They just couldn't get anything going. And the other thing too is, similar to what I talked about with the Steelers and Kenny Pickett, what is holding the Dolphins back? Unfortunately, you got to say it's their quarterback. And Tua had a good year. I don't think he's now. When Tyreek Hill's not on the field, I mean, you saw in the Bills game, to the regular season finale. I mean, those interceptions, that interception at the end of the game was horrible. And you saw, when he got hurt in the Titans game, I mean, Tua looked like a different quarterback. He is what's holding them back. And you might have to move off of him and, maybe bring somebody else in. I don't know where you're going to get it from. Obviously, the other thing, too, is you got to have a replacement. If you don't have a replacement, then don't do it. But, when you look at, again, the quarterbacks that are left, the Dolphins don't have a quarterback like that, unfortunately. Now, I don't know. I mean, they're probably going to stick with Tua, of course, but, I just think that ultimately he's holding this team back from taking that next step. So I think at some point you're going to have to move off of him. But also, again, them playing against the Chiefs in that, in those elements, again, tall task. And they were missing a lot of guys on defense. I mean, they were missing, 4 of their linebackers. I don't think there was no Jerome Baker. There was no Van Ginkel who got hurt. Obviously, Jalen Phillips got hurt. Tore his Achilles. Bradley Chubb tearing his ACL. The Dolphins were dealing with a ton of injuries. I don't think there was any Xavier Howard in this game. A lot of injuries they were dealing with here. And you don't want to make excuses for them. I think even if all those guys played, I think the Chiefs are still winning. But that's why home field advantage is so important. And actually, I did see a TikTok, and it was Kurt Warner talking about how, if you're playing in, weather like this, it's advantage for one team. He's like, I want to see both teams, playing to their, basically saying he'd want to see them playing on like a neutral field. You're getting the best of both teams, and it's like that's the whole point of home field advantage. If you're complaining about that, well, the Dolphins, they should have won their final regular season game against the Bills. If you just win that game, you're not playing there. Pittsburgh is playing there, and you're hosting. I think they're hosting Buffalo again for the second week in a row. So you'd be at home, and they didn't do that. And you lost to the Titans. You don't lose if you don't choke away that 2-touchdown lead to the Titans, a few weeks ago. I think really about a month ago. You have the number 2 seed, but they didn't do that. They choked away the division, and now they're going home. They were an exciting team to watch. They put up 70 points against the Broncos earlier in the season. But ultimately, a lot of people saw that this team really just wasn't as good as they seemed to be because, you go up against Buffalo in Buffalo and you get blown out. You lose to Kansas City. You lose to the Eagles. When the Eagles, before the Eagles collapsed, you barely squeaked by Dallas, and we could talk about Dallas being frauds as well. There was a lot of fraudulent teams this year. We'll just put it like that. And then you lose to the Titans with the rookie quarterback. It's just the Dolphins. They showed you a lot of times this year that they really were not going to be that team that's gonna, be one of the last teams standing. And, again, they just would have won one more game. They would not have been playing in those conditions on Saturday. But, unfortunately, that didn't happen. And as for the Chiefs, listen, the drops were still a problem in this game. Kelsey was dropping some balls in this game. But Rashee Rice had a big game, which is encouraging. It's the playoffs now, and the Chiefs are going to be different, I don't expect them to do a lot of those lollygagging plays where, like the fumble that happened on Christmas that ended up being a touchdown against the Raiders. this team come playoff time now, they know what's at stake. And I am really looking forward to these games next weekend, or this upcoming weekend. It is going to be they're going to be a lot of fun. Mahomes Allen is going to finish off the weekend, so I'm really looking forward to that, especially because it's going to be in Buffalo now, so it's going to be a change of scenery. And if you remember, in 2020, the COVID year, the regular season game they played in Buffalo, but of course there was no fans. Now you are going to have Bills Mafia in the stadium for this game, so it is going to be that game's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll see if we get another 42 to 36 game. I don't think we're going to get that, but it should be a lot of fun, and especially because it's going to be Patrick Mahomes' first road playoff game. So I'm really excited for that. But you know what? And the key really is the Chiefs' defense, because this is the best defense that we've seen in the Patrick Mahomes era. And going into the game next week against the Bills, they're going to have to show out again, because now you're going up against Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. That offense, you're going to have to find a way to slow them down, which, listen, they can. And Josh Allen played a turnover-free game against the Steelers, but that doesn't mean he's not going to do it. He's not going to have another one against the Chiefs. So we'll see. But the Chiefs did what they were supposed to do here in this game against the Dolphins. Again, the only time where you maybe thought, okay, Dolphins might have a shot is the Tyreek Hill touchdown. That was it. But they did what they're supposed to do, get a home victory, and now it's on to Buffalo. And then as for the Dolphins, we'll see where they go from here. Obviously, get your guys back for next year, especially on defense. I don't really see them, moving off of Tua here in the offseason, but who knows? But ultimately, he's one of the big reasons why this team is not going to be able to take the next level. Unfortunately, I don't want to say it, but that's the case. And on top of that, the division is going to be better next year. Because if Aaron Rodgers is healthy next year, the Jets are going to be better. They're not better than the Dolphins, but they're going to be a better team. And we'll see. With the Patriots now, with Gerard Mayo as their new head coach, what they're able to do. They're in the middle of a transition period. But listen, this conference is loaded in general. Look at the conference as a whole. Where do you put the Dolphins? With these 4 teams that are left, the Texans, they're going to be a better team. They're just getting started, They got some work to do, the Dolphins, and starting with, they might have to figure something out with quarterback. But let me know what you guys think about this game. With that, we're going to take our final break of the show, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the coaching carousel. When we come back, teams have conducted interviews with people, with candidates. We'll talk about, where some of the big names could go. Things like that when we come back from our final break of the show. So with that being said, stick around and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.